Okay, time to pull this engine out today. The first thing is just studying where all these cables go, and hoses and things like that. Got a pretty good idea after looking at the manual. Here, that right there is the solenoid, the problematic solenoid that goes to these carburetors. There's a little tube that goes down to this T, and that goes to each carburetor. So that's one of the pieces that needs to come off. And then there's two cables that appear to both be operated by the throttle. You know, this moves when I do that, but it's not connected to anything. However, as you can see, it's working, so that I'm not sure where this other cable connects to. It was loose. So I'll have to figure that out later. Let's see. And then for the ray valves, there's a tube that comes down around up here, down there, and goes up underneath and connects with crankcase pressure. So I'm going to take these linkages off, take the cables off anyway, and that's the input fuel, and this is the return line. I'll take both of those things off, and then I'm going to pull the carburetors off together. It's just 2 bolts, Allen heads there and one underneath, and take them off as a set and leave it all connected until I can look at it later and understand how they are set up. There's an accelerator, or a accelerator pump, a little push pump that I've moved the fuel line back in here to get it out of the way, but it's got a little T on it, and that pushes it through a second line down here, this one, that has a little T on it that goes to nipples on the right underneath the throttle body, so that they both get a little push of gas when you pull that thing. So moving all this stuff out of the way, just need to take the linkage off at the bottom, and that should be it. Got down to this last bolt here, actually a couple of them, and just the regular socket with the H6 on it wouldn't fit 2 of them just because of the angle. You have to be spot on in front of them, and because of the diameter of that little socket head, I just couldn't get on it. So I didn't have my Allen wrenches with me, the regular handheld L-shaped ones, so I went to Ace and just bought that for $1.50. So now I got a mirror down here, and I can get on it that way. Now that those bolts are out, I'm just gonna pull them off like that, and I've got one little line to disconnect. Take the carburetors off. I'm just gonna put them down in here for now. Now it's time to take out these motor mounts. One there, and one in there. That one, and then one in the front right there. Keeping up with these bolts, I've been putting them in little baggies and boxes with labels on them so I don't lose anything. and the motor's loose. So now I'm going to slide it forward. But before I do that, I'm going to take off these Edeker clamps on the PTO so that the shaft will slide out. And I'm hoping I can just slide it forward to free the shaft. If not, I'm going to have to take the pump off to get the shaft out so that I can pull it straight up. Take off the temperature sensor, ground wire up here. And then I've got to take off the starter motor cables. There's 2 of them down there. So everything's loose, but the drive shaft's still stuck in the PTO pretty good, and I couldn't move it forward and dislodge it. You know, the clamp is off. There's nothing holding it in there except the drive shaft, so it's just stuck. Best thing for me to do is to come back here and take the pump off, and then I can pull the drive shaft out of the back. In order to take the drive shaft out, you have to move this hat on the carbon seal, and there's a little C-clip. You can see I've already taken it out. It fits into that groove, but the tricky part is they can be stiff. So one trick that I use is I put blocks of wood down here to get it just right where I can take a pair of channel locks, and you slip it down like that where it catches the edges of that hat, and then you use some leverage and you can push it back and expose that C-clip and take it out. Take the nozzle off. Wow, pretty dirty in there. Definitely looks like it's, I know I keep saying this, but I think it's been sunk. So now I've got to take the pump housing off next. In case you're wondering, where is the reverse bucket? The answer is there's not one. These don't have reverses on them. It's all forward, you know, essentially racing class kind of skis. Some people put reverse buckets on them. I'm probably not going to do that. It does have this thing, which is that's called VTS, variable trim system, and there's a button up there on the, well, you can't see it, on the left handlebar, where you can essentially raise your trim up and down, and they say those things require a little futzing with, and some people just fix them where they're locked, you know, on full up position. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that, but that's good. It's loose, so I'll be able to pull that off. I need 2 hands to do it though, so I'm gonna have to stop the camera. Took the prop off. I don't really care about the wear ring because I'm gonna replace it, but it's actually, well, it's got some wear on it. They're supposed to be almost touching, like 1 millimeter. You can see a little light through there. That's good for 2 or 3 millimeters, but the prop itself, impeller, looks to be in pretty good shape. I'll just need to clean up those edges, but that's good. I don't want to have to buy an impeller if I don't have to. This thing's rusted right here, so I'm gonna reach up in there and try to pull this thing through. Silly me, I forgot to take this inner Edeker clamp off, and that's what's keeping it from going through that hat for the carbon seal. However, the shaft is out, so probably going to go ahead and pull the drive shaft out completely anyway, just to get it out of the way and keep from banging up the splines when I pull this thing out. But that's all good news. 3 times the charm. There we go. It was just in a little bit of a bind, that's all. Drive shaft actually looks okay. You know, there's rust at the back here. But that's fine. Okay, time to eat lunch. Man, that was a job. So I made a mistake, and I forgot to disconnect a little ground cable that went here, and I got it halfway up out of the ski and felt that tug, and I had to abort mission and set it back down in there. And in the process, stooping that low, I tweaked my back a little bit. Nothing serious, just a little pulled muscle. But after that, I put these straps around it where I could, you know, get a little bit more leverage with my legs, and was able to pretty much lift it up with one hand and guide it with the other one and set it out. But anyway, it's heavier than I thought it was, that's for sure. Maybe I could have taken the starter motor off. I just don't think it would have helped that much. But it is out, so mission accomplished on this. Now it's just a matter of taking it into my shop and taking it apart. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Gray Ghost Resurrection. There's a bunch coming.